Oh my god, it looks so clear up here. What? Into Red Room, it's Tony. So, this is gonna be like a short video. Never you mind my stuff in the back. Okay, anyway, so I recently had like an acquaintanceship that I ended that ended up being like a triggering experience, this full moon energy. Um, but it was a very interesting experience for me. So I, had been making some jokes. This person found kind of like not funny and kind of uncomfortable, and that was fine. But what ended up happening, it was kind of, I don't know, it was like very interesting. Um, so essentially, they like confronted me about it and stuff like that, but their tone was kind of accusatory. And, I realized through all of that this acquaintance and I were now in two different spaces. And it was like very sad to say that because I had known this person for nearly 15 years of my life. And to kind of like have to end it, well, I didn't have to end it, but basically something said I had to end it, which it brought up fears of being misunderstood, of being maligned, of being ignored, of just the general disregard for my personhood or who I was, and not being seen for who I was. Because had I been seen for who I was, this wouldn't have happened in the first place. And it was a very triggering event. I'm talking about screaming, crying. It's like I was purging like this information and this experience, and then it was like other experiences where I just felt like people were slightly coming at me, and it was just very just triggering. And so I had to reflect on it with like friends and stuff like that about growth, and when friendships and acquaintanceships they die and you are left with like these pieces, but also how a lot of our relationships, even if they're not romantic, revolve around a lot of childhood wounding with regards to how you were seen, how you aren't seen, how you're perceived, how you are vilified or idolized. And those things really are important. And so, a quick video, I think that if anyone is going through the dissolution of particularly like close friendships and acquaintanceships, and you feel very triggered about it, I would advise to kind of slowly start to step back from that relationship, your perspective of it, and how close it actually was to you. Because some of our relationships we think are very close, but as the fallout starts to kind of like settle, you kind of realize that the reason you fell out was because you weren't that close to begin with. But I would start to kind of think about your childhood, particularly in the ways in which you communicated and showed up, and the ways in which people either saw you or didn't. And when I mean see you, I don't mean like physically see your presence, like your your flesh presence, although that is a huge part of it. But when you showed up as who you were, where you were received well, which made you like want to flourish, or were you received poorly, which made you want to hide and made you want to cover yourself? And whatever that was, it could be taking on a mean girl persona, it could take on shyness, or just I'm checked out. What did that look like for you? And is that something that still happens today? Because I realized for me personally that showing up as me, and me is kind of as slightly like blunt, like hot headed. To the point though, and very opinionated, but honest if you need it. Kind with my honesty, if I know you. But that is how I show up in the world. And some of that still is working through um, dealing with how it was received, right? Even as that is a more authentic version of myself, that is still, there's still remnants of that protection of who I, was and wasn't necessarily accepted for being. And so there's more layers added onto that. And so as I shed these layers, the true self is coming out. And I'm exploring what that means. So that dissolution of that, like almost 15-year acquaintanceship, showed me that how I'm showing up authentically will definitely start to ruffle feathers. It'll definitely start to break down certain relationships because they weren't built on me being whoever I was. And yeah, so that's the kind of experience. The full moon retrograde stuff is for the birds. I ain't finna lie, but it did like help me like process something very important, and so that's what I wanted to share. So thank you guys. I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.